Hi, this is Melanie from Screen Time with Mel, and right now we're going to talk about the Winchesters, Season 1, Episode 2. So let's go ahead and get into it. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining me here today. If you're returning, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for checking out another one of my videos, and I hope you like this one as much, if not more, than the last one you watched. And if you're new here, well, thank you for checking me out. I do hope that you enjoy this video, and if you do, don't hesitate to go down below and hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out the algorithm. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys coming here. Alright, so let's go ahead and start talking about this episode. I'm going to tell you straight up, they started into the formula. The supernatural formula. So, we start out in the opening scene with the big baddie of the week. And so that's at a... you don't know this at first, but it's at a commune. It looks like a big bonfire, a bunch of hippies dancing. It's 1972, which, by the way, I was wrong. I said it was 1974. It's actually 1972. And so it's all these guys dancing around, a big bonfire, lots of hippies. And this couple goes out and walks out alone into the middle of the forest, and I'm sitting here thinking, don't you know this is a supernatural style episode? Don't you know you're going to die? Yeah, well, one of them dies. I'm going to tell you the special effects were much better on this monster than the last one. You know, the creature from the Black Lagoon, much better. He thinks he's talking to his father, and then all these vines come whipping out from it, and then you think they kill this guy. All right. You don't show the death, which of course Supernatural never really showed the death because it was on a network, you know, the CW network, so they can only show so much gore. One thing the monster reminded me of is there was this tree monster in the Grimm. Have any of you guys watched the Grimm? Were any of you guys fans of the Grimm? Let me know if you were down below. I'd love to hear about it. I'm a big fan of the Grimm, so I've watched that one just about as much as I've watched Supernatural. Yeah, probably about the same amount. So it kind of reminded me of the tree monster from the Grimm. But it wasn't. It's not the same thing. It went a completely different route. And we get back into where everybody's at home. Of course, John has an argument with his mom. And then he drops off the beat-up car, which is Mary's car. And he said he was going to get it fixed. Pretty beat up to get fixed. Going to take some time. Apparently, it doesn't take more than a week back then. This day and age, it takes a lot more than a week for something that beat up to get fixed. But so we get into it, and they follow some more clues, and they basically they see a paper, and it has the reports about what happened over in the woods of this area. So they decide they need to go check it out. And also there was hints that you know what? Let me back up. So first, before the clues that they come from, they first start out right after the intro. They start out, they're fighting zombies. And I'm like, oh, what Dean would give to be there fighting some zombies. He would love that. And you guys, I have cats, so you're going to see cats in the background sometimes. They fought some zombies, beat up some zombies, and, you know, I start to really question John being in the military because... he doesn't fight so well. I mean, he holds his own, but he doesn't fight so well. I mean, I would think he would be a little bit more combat ready, but okay. I guess monsters versus other humans, maybe not quite the same thing. He's got to build up his skill set. So I'll give him that. I'll give him that. But this time they did do the very, very, very much the supernatural formula. They even, there's so many parallels with the supernatural. So, Mary's searching for her missing father, and John, similarly, not necessarily a missing father, but he's wanting to find out more about his father. Following the clues to find out more about his father. And, in a way, he's missing too, but they don't say that overtly, I guess. It just that he walked out and never came back. That's all you know. So they go to this commune, and based on the clues that they find from the zombies and other things, they go to this commune. Now, during the zombies, they found out that the box wasn't working anymore. That kill box. I'm like, geez, sure would make life a whole lot easier if they could just press some buttons and, you know, set the kill box to go. But it didn't work. thank goodness. I'd hate for them to be that OP, right? So they leave Ada back at the clubhouse, they're calling it. I want to say bunker because I'm so used to that from Supernatural. But the clubhouse, to find out more about what's going on with that box and why it didn't work. And then they head out to this commune to find out what's going on. So they start doing their investigation. Now, a couple of things that I found interesting is at the scene where another abduction happens. I say abduction, you know, whatever. It's some hokey stuff. You find out it's an abduction as you get towards the end. And it really reminds me of, you remember that episode where they did the musical, the Supernatural musical? It reminded me of her because there was the purple flowers, right? So I was thinking they were going to be dealing with the deity. Come to find out they weren't dealing with the deity. They're dealing with something else entirely. Something that was created out of dark magic from a woman who abused and killed her children. Okay, I have got a cat grooming himself right behind the camera, and he's tapping it, so it's shaking things a little bit. Yeah, he's wanting to be crazy. They ultimately find this out. First, they thought it was a mimic, which has to be killed with copper, and of course, there's still copper pipes in at that time. How convenient. So John goes to steal the copper pipes. They find out the monster is going to be going after John, and of course, it ends up abducting, because that's easy for me to say, abducting John. And takes it back to its lair, which is still a lot like, and I can't remember the name of that deity. It was some sort of deity. Still reminded me of that. It's not that. It's this woman who's been cursed, I guess is the best way to put it. Cursed by her own evil vileness. And she feeds on those that she takes back to her lair by torturing them. I'm assuming sucking the life force out of them. They're never clear on that, but that's okay. Supernatural rarely is, and I'm okay with that. And then now one thing that does happen, and I noticed this is in my sister who commented on a previous video mentioned this. So you know how I was saying that Sam felt but John felt so much like Sam. And I was thinking back, and I even remember back in the first couple of seasons of Supernatural, they actually made it where John and Sam were very much alike. While Dean wanted to please his dad and acted and did the things that his dad wanted, but John and Sam were so much alike, and that's why they butted heads. So it makes sense that John would act a lot more like Sam with a little bit of the Dean swagger. And then as you go into it, Mary acts a lot more like Dean, but with a little bit more heart than Dean has sometimes. Dean is very much, it's my way or the highway. And Mary starts out that way, but she starts to listen as we go into it. And it's a lot easier a lot harder to be as bossy as Dean was when you're dealing with a quartet as opposed to a younger brother. Because in sibling dynamics, the older sibling tends to be a little bit more bossy than the younger sibling. And eventually, at some point, they butt heads over it, and it becomes more of a partnership than one bossing the other one around. So anyway, it's harder for somebody to behave like Dean did in a quartet. So while Mary at the beginning starts to really feel like John did in Supernatural, like very bossy, it's my way or the highway, it's very militant, you got to listen to me, we got to do. And she got called out for it and ended up being wrong. So I like that dynamic of it. I still feel like the actors are still working on getting their groove. So back to the story. Ultimately, they follow the petals and they figure out what it is, and they decide that they need to kill her by taking some of her own limbs and trees and using that to stab her in the heart, because they have to actually get to her heart. Stab her in the heart and kill her. So there's the big fight scene, as there always is, and then ultimately they save the day, and John makes up with his mom. They still haven't found Sam Campbell, and the team is starting to behave a little bit more like a cohesive unit and more like an ensemble, more like a team, as opposed to a group of people listening to one person. It looks like they're leaning towards more of a collaborative style, which I kind of like that difference. because there's so many parallels with Supernatural that I want to see some differences. There was one thing that my sister did write about Carlos. I'm really hoping that they, and I agree with her on this, I'm hoping that they create more depth for Carlos. So in some ways I'm thinking about, because I'm going to be bringing it back to Supernatural a lot, because that's where it comes from. This show is coming from the lore of Supernatural and that, and of course you have Jensen Ackles narrating it at the beginning, so of course. So I'm going to be drawing back to that and drawing some parallels from that. And I don't want it to, I like that it's starting to follow that formula a little bit more, but I don't want it to follow it so closely that it becomes just a repeat of what Supernatural was, but with different people. Because there was such a magic in Supernatural and the chemistry between Jensen and Jared that I think it's going to take some time, because for a quartet to get, I think it's easier to make that happen with two people, but I feel like they need to make it happen with the quartet. So I don't want it to be exact. I like that it's going to be a little bit different, but there's certain formulaic things that they're going to be keeping in play. So the big baddie, the overarching baddie, for at least for this season and maybe for several seasons, is the Akrita. And I don't know exactly what they are. I feel like they're like either from a different plane or aliens. I feel like from a different plane, because at the very last scene you get this person in a hooded and looks like a woman based on the fingers, and or it could be a man with very effeminate hands, at least by our traditions, and so it just had that woman kind of feel. And I'm wondering if it's a witch, like a really super powerful witch, or it could be something, the Akrita. And following her were shadowy, spidery type of things. So I'm thinking that's what got Sam in the first scene of the first episode. Those shadowy, spidery things. And those were done so much better than the creature from the Black Lagoon. So the effects are so much better than that first one. So I'm really, really liking that. I like where they're going down into this portal. That looked really good, and even the baddie of the week, the effects on that were really good. So they did a combination of special effects as well as physical, practical effects. So I do like that they did that. So what are you guys feeling about this so far? What are you thinking? I do like this episode better. It's not the introduction episode. It feels like the characters are starting to get into they're not quite there, but they're getting into their groove a little bit. And the effects are doing much better to me. So I'm hopeful for the upcoming episodes. I still need somebody, and I did get a comment from somebody else saying that they are supposed to explain it in the season, the reason for the changes in the canon. So I'm waiting for that. I realize that it's billed, I'm showing on IMDb, I think it's 13 episodes. So I'm hoping at least it doesn't have to happen in the first few episodes, but I'm thinking the latter half of the season start to explain that a little bit better. I'm wondering if they are going to find Sam by the end of it. It'd be a big twist if they end up finding Henry instead of Sam. But then that changes things in the universe where Sam and Dean were. So, but whatever. It's a whole new world, right? Whole new world. So I also like that they have a home base to go back to. Now, I did find it greatly amusing that they did end up in a hotel that looked so much like the hotels that Sam and Dean always stayed in. But Sam and Dean really didn't get a home base until was about season 2, I think. It was after their father died and they started hanging with Bobby, and Bobby was kind of the home base. So I'm glad that they have a home base from the start. Of course, John has his home, but they've got the clubhouse, which, the guys ended up with a bunker in the latter seasons. So I like that. I know I kind of rambled on pretty quickly, but I'm starting to enjoy it a little bit more. I'm not feeling the connection to the characters just yet, but I am not, and I've got cats chasing each other around me, so forgive me. But I'm repeating myself now. You guys, let me know what you think down below. What did you like? What did you feel was off-putting? What were things that stood out for you, either good or bad? I'd love to hear from you down below. Let's get started on that conversation. And if you enjoyed this video, then go ahead and hit the like button. And while you're down there, if you haven't yet, and you like all things TV, as well as some movies, I haven't gotten any movies yet, but I do plan on it, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell so that you're reminded each time I come out with a brand new video. Alright, you guys, thank you all so much for being here today. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And you guys have an amazing day. Bye-bye.